Everybody, and welcome to my studio. This is episode 20 of our 52-week creative art journal journey. Those are really big words that I strung together, and I'm really hoping that you're looking forward to today's creative art prompt. So really what this is I take a prompt every week and I use that prompt to inspire an art journal entry. And currently we started to explore the elements. The elements of nature is really a profound place to go for inspiration, right? And last week we played with fire. This week we dunked in deep and we are using the element of water to create this beautiful page in our art journal. So using water to create interesting collage elements, using the fluidity of paint as a way to describe what water can do. I played with a bit of rubbing alcohol to move that paint around, and I also played with acrylic inks to mimic the flow of water. So if you want to see how to create these elements and use it in your art journal, then stick around, give me 5 seconds to turn my camera around and let me show you how. Hi, my name is Gideon. I'm also known as Gideon Slight. Welcome to my studio, and I'm your creatively fit coach. So join me now. Right, I quite love how this page has come together. It really gives us a vibe of water in all its variety of forms, and I like how abstractly this page is really talking about the element of water, but I do feel I have to integrate this a little bit more, and I've mixed a little bit of my silver metallic paint here on my fan brush, diluted it with a bit of water because, yes, you guessed it, I want a little bit of splatter just to bring these layers together in some beautiful way. Just talking about some reflections and sparkles of water, and I think that will bring our page to a conclusion in our art journal as we explore the element of water. Get started. So I've got some of my recycled paper out today, and because our theme is water, we're playing with the element of water and we're finding inspiration from a body of water or the element of water. So what I've decided to do today is I'm going to use my brayer and I'm going to be rolling off color on these spare pages almost to this effect, so that we can have sort of a vibe going that will speak to us about water. And I've also got my acrylic inks, and I also have my rubbing alcohol. So we're gonna see, today is all experimental, nothing seriously planned. So I'm going to be using this paper and some of my paints. Let me just grab a palette here that I can accumulate some paint. So let's get started in preparing a background, and I really just have a little bit of everything that I felt was color related. This is some of my old student grade paints from Atlas. This is Payne's Grey. and I think it might be a great way to start. I'm even gonna squirt out the paint directly onto my piece of paper here and just brayer it into the page. You can really see that was a student grade kind of paint because it's sort of got a separation there between the paint and the binder of some sorts. So what I am going to do here is I'm just going to use my brayer to spread the paint, but I'm working very deliberately in a very horizontal way. So, you know, when you are standing next to a body of water, you may be looking at the sea or a lake or something like that. You have distance, and all of these horizontal lines will begin to communicate to us in some kind of way, you know, the feeling and the vibe of water. So I just want to really cover this page with some of my paints. That's also going to strengthen this recycled paper that is really thin, but that's the reason I love it, because when I use it as you know, collage material in my journal, then this paper is not too thick, and it really makes life a bit easier, especially when you come to an art journal. So the only thing is, between these row of layers, you sort of have to give the paper a chance to dry. Otherwise it might get a bit too thin. But let's keep adding some paint here. This is, like I said, all experimental. Let's go ahead and play with a palette knife to help add some texture and just move this paint in an interesting way and layer it on here. That's very bright, cerulean blue. It's also very watery. So I'm gonna allow this page to dry a bit while I continue to play on this other page. It's really difficult sometimes to talk, to explain, to demonstrate, to think on the roll all at once, you know. So forgive me if I have moments of silence where it sounds like I'm looking for a word or a sentence, because it is literally a bit of both. I'm responding to my page, I'm thinking what I'm trying to say to you guys and demonstrating all at once. So let's let this dry. Right, I'm just going to continue to strengthen this paper by adding more layers of paint and ink, continually working in a horizontal fashion, and by some miracle happenstance, then maybe the colors will come together and give us the impression of a body of water. Right, so now that we've got a bit of a background going that sort of speaks of water, and I've just used my palette knife and my brayer, I'm going to switch now to my watery kind of tools, or shall I call it mediums rather. So I've got my acrylic inks. You can always dilute paint with water and apply it in this way, so you don't have to use inks. But you know, it's nice to have something that is a bit of fluid because we are dealing with the element of water. So this is just one of my dilution shimmer sprays. It's not permanent, but sort of, you know, it gives me a sort of a, what shall we call it, liquidy vibe. That's nice and colorful. That's pretty. Let's add a little bit of black drawing ink here. And this is also one of my older stocks, so I'm going to use my pipette. And I'm going to draw some of these inks up, and I've got my board sort of on an angle. And we'll see if this angle is sufficient, so forgive me if I encourage it a little bit more vertical, so that we can encourage these drips to flow down our page. So this can get a little bit messy. I'm warning you guys. But you know what? We do like ourselves a good mess every now and again, because it is experimental and it is creative, and you have to sometimes just allow, you know, the medium to do what it does best. And, you know, sometimes using gravity as you know, a means to get your product to move is one way to do it. You know, it's a real thing. Okay, so I'm just going to blot up a little bit of the excess here. And listen, the whole thing doesn't have to be a success. We only need parts of it to, you know, really come to the party. So let's add a little bit of my favorite turquoise. Let's add some turquoise inks and see where this will take us. And sometimes it's really disappointing, especially when you want a product to do something. Forgive me, we're going off camera a little bit, but I just want to encourage this drip to just flow a little bit. Let's add a bit more. There we go. I'm going to play with a process cyan blue. This is a little bit more watery, a bit more student grade. The professional stuff is a little bit thicker. So let's get this to run down our page. So the whole thing that I'm trying to sort of maintain and control throughout the creation of this page is I keep making sure that I have a one directional kind of flow with my inks, and that will eventually help me to communicate the vibe of air that I want to create. And now I'm switching to a clean pipette, and I'm going to just see what the alcohol is going to do. Maybe it will do nothing, maybe it will do something. It will obviously only interact with the wet ink on the page, not the dried parts of the acrylic. So let's see if that will add a vibe to our page that will speak of water. I'm just gonna let this be more vertical, and then we'll see where we are headed with this. I think personally I'm just going to encourage some of this verticalness with my brayer, and just encourage my page to give me some texture that will speak of water or a body of water of some sort. So the brayer will just help me to move some of this color, but in a different way that a brush will do. And because I'm directionally working in the same direction, this will all add to the visual communication of movement, rhythm, pattern, direction, and it will give us a little bit of interest on our page because it's not just one color, right? So we've got tones and shades and all kinds of things that's interesting. I'm even going to employ printing, and printing really is just, you know, placing one page on top of another and transferring whatever wants to transfer to my page. That looks nice. So it's going to be subtle, it's not going to be intense. But every little mark that is transferred will add to that sparkle, you know, that movement, the ripple effect that you see, you know, on a body of water. And in a way, we are allowing our elements that we're playing here in the studio with to sort of mimic that effect. That's nice. Let's allow that to dry. Okie dokie. Let's add a little bit of white. We do need a bit of contrast. Contrast is always a good idea. So I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle some of this white ink on this sheet of paper, and let's see what it does when we add some water spritz. Literally playing with water. Ooh, we're getting some nice effects here. And again, I'm going to encourage this page by turning it vertically and allowing some of this paint to run down and speak about this directionality that is going to help us create the feeling of water. That's really nice. I love the way that the white is now running down with the water, mixing with some of the other colors and creating a beautiful striation. I'm just supporting my very flimsy page here with another canvas and some tissue paper. I hope you guys can see. I'm going to go even more vertical for a few seconds and just allow the water to run down. And because I didn't add too much water, I could control the flow a little bit, so that's really nice. So I'm quite happy with what's happening here. I think I'm exactly where I want to be. I've got some beautiful movement and some interesting patterns that only water can give me in my paint. And look how the silver pigment that I'm using is reflecting these blues. Oh my word, that is so beautiful. I am starting to be inspired and starting to get very excited about this page. So I'm going to put this aside to dry, and when we come back, we're going to use the element of water and our pages in our art journal, and we're going to explore how water plays a role in our life and in our art as well. So I'll be right back. Right, while I am getting myself organized here to begin my collage in my art journal, I've decided to speed things up for you guys, and I'm just going to use all of these previously self-made collage elements to continue to tell the story in my art journal of the element of water. So I just googled a little bit the meaning of the element of water, and it represents fluidic matter and the cohesive principle of physics. Water is the protector of the body. It provides the body with its most basic nourishment. Water protects against the dissolution of the ether element, the roughness and motion of the air element, and the heat of the fire element. I really thought that was very interesting. So my idea was to play with the horizontal nature of a body of water, and I'm just tearing up strips here that would represent in some way either water in the air, as atmospheric impressions like fog or mist. And I also thought of ice, maybe glaciers. And I also thought of the sea, the ocean, and also maybe, what water looks like when you are near a lake or a river and you have some movement and fluidity. All of these fluid and even solid states of water is sort of running through my mind. Now I'm working on this previously activated page, and the reason why I chose this page for the water element was I already started with sort of the blue theme, and I sort of think that blue is one of those colors that immediately can speak of the nature of water. Here I'm using the paper that we created earlier today, and you can see really it's quite impressive just by working with a horizontal application of paint and a variety of shades of light and dark, how this sort of can give the impression of water, of clouds, the sea, maybe at night, maybe it's a moonlit scene, and just, even using descriptive words like I'm using, how it already sort of coaches your mind to begin to notice things and see things in a particular way. So this is really fun. I tried this piece of tissue paper, but in the end, this really went pear-shaped when it started tearing. So I just decided to rip it out. Clearly, it wasn't meant to be there. And then I continued to create this page with previously created collage elements. So I hope you will enjoy as I continue to put this page together for you. Can you hear the water running? This week we have used the element of water to inspire our page in our art journal, and we used water in a variety of ways, from fluid acrylic inks to using our brayer and rubbing alcohol. All of these elements, speaking of water, was combined in order to create this interesting page in our art journal. So I'm looking forward to see how you will create and using water as your inspiration in your art journal. So remember to take a photograph and share it with us on the Creative Heart group. I'll see you guys again next week. Bye bye for now.